Hey everybody, it's Rabbit. Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to do a little update in terms of what I'm planning for the channel in the future. And just to kick things off, I just want to remind everybody I do in fact operate a Squadron, SCYT, semi-cooperative YouTube. Anybody can join. It's currently an open Squadron, so just send in a request and I will try to accept that as soon as I see it. In general, there aren't any requirements for joining the Squadron right now. That could change in the future if a lot of people want to join and it starts to fill up, but for the time being, there's plenty of room. So if anybody out there doesn't currently have a Squadron and just wants some Squadron vehicle RP, feel free to join in. Now, in keeping with the whole Squadron thing, I have seen some individuals ask me if I do have a Discord, and the answer is currently no, but if there is enough demand for it, I might start one up. Feel free to let me know in the comments down below if you want me to start a Discord. Personally, I don't really have a ton of time in the day to do things like managing it, but if there are enough people that are interested in joining one, then I could definitely make that happen. So let me know in the comments down below if you have any input on that question. This also neatly segues into my next point. Several people have pointed out and asked if I plan on switching to PC from Xbox anytime soon, and the short answer is that while I have thought about it, it is kind of a no for me. And a big part of the reason why I intend to stay on console and specifically using the gamepad is because, in my opinion, there are plenty of places you can go to see mouse and keyboard users and how they play the game. There aren't as many places to see how to play the game as a console user using a controller. So I feel like to an extent that does give me an area where I am covering it that a lot of other content creators aren't. Additionally, a lot of people are under the impression that consoles are inherently at a disadvantage, controllers are just worse than mouse and keyboard, and certainly there is merit to that, but if I am playing on a quote-unquote worse setup and I'm still getting nukes, and I'm still having great games, and I'm still carrying my team, then there's no reason why anybody else can't do it. And I think it does help to demonstrate one thing that I've said repeatedly in this channel, that while being able to millisecond react and snap your gun to an enemy weak point at a moment's notice is fun, if that's your entire plan, you're going to be setting yourself up for failure. What you really want to do is have good map positioning, have good map knowledge, and have good vehicle knowledge, and that will pay off a lot more and a lot more consistently. So I do feel like it kind of hammers home that entire point that it really is just about knowing more about the game, and helping people to know more about the game is kind of what this channel is all about. And that segues into another topic. If anybody watching this is a newer or less experienced player and you legitimately do not have any idea what you're doing wrong, and if you can find a way to both record and upload your content either to YouTube or another website, just drop a comment in this or any one of my other videos saying, hey, could you look over my gameplay and tell me what I'm doing wrong, along with a link. Even if other people can't see the link, I can as the content creator, so I can definitely go to your video and give you some feedback. And I do actually enjoy doing VOD reviews because helping somebody very directly when they simply don't know what they're doing wrong is definitely something that I can always take time out of my normal video schedule to do. Now, there is one caveat. Obviously, I do have something of a schedule, so it might take a week or so to squeeze you in, but if you're legitimately having trouble, I have no problem whatsoever dropping a VOD review into the normal release schedule of videos. Now, much like with the Squadron, there may come a point where I have to be a lot more selective about what videos I do and don't select, but for the time being, basically, if you're having any issues with the game and you can record a VOD, feel free to upload it, link it to me, and I'll see what I can do. Now, one thing I will say about VOD reviews is if you can, you should definitely try to record live footage. The replay just isn't really good enough. It doesn't have accurate information, and it's hard to tell exactly where you're aiming. Additionally, the replay doesn't play the audio correctly in terms of your vehicle, and audio cues are actually a pretty significant part of awareness, so having live gameplay footage with live audio certainly helps me to assess exactly how good your awareness is and whether or not that may be one of your issues, because one thing that I have identified, especially with less experienced players, is awareness is a big issue that they need to address. Of course, all of this wraps into another topic, and that is, obviously, I love doing M24 gameplay, and I love getting God modes with the M24, and some people get really annoyed by it, but honestly, I can usually get in the top 3 to 5 people on the entire team in an M24, even at 10.7, and by getting multiple kills and being high on the team in an M24 at such a high battle rating, again, it really hammers home the point that a lot of this channel is about in the first place, and that is that what you really need to be successful is simply knowledge, map awareness, vehicle knowledge, etc. to be successful, so you can even be successful in a 3.7 tank and a 10.7 lineup if you know what you're doing and you're positioning yourself properly. On top of that, I am constantly trying to improve my overall setup and the recording quality basically across the spectrum. That being said, the channel doesn't bring in a ton of revenue right now, so I'm trying to do this in a way that I can both live with in terms of cost and also that I can understand, because obviously this is a one-man show. So if I see a problem, I have to identify the problem, identify potential solutions, evaluate costs, etc., and do all of that basically on my own, in addition to my normal schedule of uploading videos and recording gameplay footage, and also just generally grinding the tech tree. But the reason why I always like to keep the very first edited video that I attempted to do on YouTube is because, well, I want to see where I came from and how far I've come. At this point, I've both invested in a second monitor to assist with editing, some better audio equipment, better recording equipment. I've had to play with a lot of different settings in terms of both YouTube and the recording and the uploading process, and I don't intend to ever stop experimenting with those kind of things. I always want to be looking for new and better ways to improve the channel. So if people do have suggestions on how to improve the channel, that's fine. You can always drop them in the bottom of a video. I might not necessarily immediately respond because some of them I have to think over, or some of them I don't really have a good response to right now. I would actually have to look at and evaluate how viable it would be, but I do always read that feedback and try to take it to heart. As far as what you can expect in the future, I do intend to continue the Worst Map Ever series because I feel like map knowledge is one of the hardest parts of War Thunder to gain, because in general, especially if you're just spawn die repeating, you're going to have a lot of issues getting any real map knowledge or getting around the map enough to get that good idea of what are and are not good positions, and also the general routes in the map and the timings that you need to get to certain parts of the map. It's a very difficult and esoteric thing to try and learn, and at least trying to give people a head start on figuring out what parts of the map they should go to, what parts they should avoid, and what parts are better for certain types of vehicles, I feel like is probably one of the most valuable things a player can learn outside of information on the vehicles themselves. On top of that, one other type of content I was looking at was doing lower tier reviews, although again, trying to find a specific format that I'm happy with and that I can consistently do across basically all nations is proving a bit elusive right now. I will definitely keep an eye on it, and I am looking at the prospect of more low to mid tier centric content. However, it's just trying to figure out a format that I'm comfortable with. In addition, I did really like the Worst and Best Vehicle series because it kind of shows the types of stats and the types of characteristics that players are having a lot of success with and that players are not having a lot of success with. It actually is pretty interesting to look at the Worst and Best series, in my opinion, because there are just a lot of interesting conclusions that you can draw from a series like that that can help you understand in general how a lot of people play the game of War Thunder, for better and for worse. It's easy to say academically, I think this tank is bad or I think this tank is good, but when the stats show the completely opposite story, then you have to try and figure out what is really going on with the players using these specific vehicles. Of course, that does segue into the next aspect that I want to discuss, and that is the idea of doing 2 videos a week. You'll notice that for a while I actually have been doing 2 videos a week, and part of that is because the Worst and Best Vehicle series are not that difficult to do in terms of overall time investment, but you can still get useful information out of it. So I found it was a good compromise. Ultimately, if I'm not happy with the quality of the second video, I might start pulling it back to just 1 video a week, but I'm just going to play it on a by-ear basis. I'm not entirely committed to either release schedule at this point, so that'll be continually being evaluated as we go forward. Ultimately, that was a big lesson I learned very early on when releasing videos, is if you're just releasing essentially chaff videos that you don't really care about and that isn't really anything substantial in them, you might as well not be releasing it and just saving your energy for making a single better video later on. And that's all I really have for you guys today. I do sincerely appreciate everybody that subscribes to the channel, everybody that likes and comments on the video, everybody that tunes in every week to see the content. It would not be an exaggeration to say it does mean a lot to me that you guys choose to keep coming back to this channel, so thank you all for that. If you like the video and you like the channel, like and subscribe, of course, always helps out. As always, danke bitte, tschüss.